Today's story is about a place where outdoor thermometers aren't used simply because they cannot measure such extreme cold. It will cover why the absolute minimum temperature ever recorded in an inhabited area is linked to the name Natasha, how bananas can be hammered like nails, and most importantly, how people manage to live, study, and cook at minus 60 degrees. Yes, the topic is the residents of Yakutia. And at the end, there will be a unique discovery from Yakutia that no other place in the world can boast, and it's not a diamond. Let's begin. What is generally known about Yakutia? It is the largest region of the Russian Federation. In fact, when looking at the area of the Sakha Republic, it becomes clear that it is almost the same size as India, the seventh largest country in the world. Impressive, right? Snow falls here for more than half the year, and winter stretches from October to April. Summer temperatures can rise above 40 degrees, but in winter the average stays between minus 30 and minus 40. But who cares about averages when Yakutia has two towns competing for the record of the coldest permanently inhabited place on Earth, excluding Antarctica, Oymyakon, and Verkhoyansk? The difference between them is only 1.1 degrees, yet the argument remains heated. Currently, Yakut authorities regard Verkhoyansk as the North Pole of cold, while the commemorative stone marking it stands in Oymyakon, which means tourists go there for photos. Either way, the message is clear. Yakutia is extremely cold, very cold, and people continue to live there. Here is how they manage it in more detail. Speaking of photos, smartphones with large touchscreens are simply not designed for such freezing temperatures. Often there are only a few seconds to take a picture before the phone shuts down from the cold. What about cars? Even at minus 20, starting a vehicle in the morning can be challenging. The solution is straightforward. Residents with insulated garages take car batteries indoors. Others use timers that start the engine every hour for 15 to 20 minutes. There is also a method to keep the car from freezing, not turning off the engine from autumn until the warmer months of spring. However, special thermal insulation covers, commonly called Natasha, are now seen more frequently on Yakut streets. This portable garage fits in the trunk, and the car is wrapped in it like a warm blanket to prevent freezing overnight. These covers come in different designs with side flaps for mirrors, extended versions for better protection from below, and ones equipped with a rubber hose for the exhaust pipe. The inner layer can contain anything from synthetic insulation to bamboo fiber membrane fabrics or down-like materials. Here is what the cost depends on: at least 7,000 and up to 34,000 rubles. The prices are significant, so creativity is used to safeguard personal belongings. Some owners cover the car body with copies of the license plate number, while others attach business cards or notes to make it easier to locate stolen items afterward. And if the device fails, or the frost becomes even harsher, the capital offers a car defrosting service. A canopy, a heat gun, and special equipment for starting the engine are used. In smaller towns and on highways, drivers often have to look for insulated boxes to warm their vehicles. So, after starting the engine, what happens next? Experienced people recommend driving a few kilometers in a straight line to slightly heat up the tire rubber so it doesn't burst or fly off the wheel. And after that, all that remains is hoping the car doesn't stop on the road. Because if the vehicle breaks down at night, the only way to survive is often to burn it. It is said this is not a joke at all. Along the road leading from the city to the villages, completely burned car frames can often be seen. Those familiar with the situation advise starting the fire from the back seat and the tires, but leaving the tires for last since they burn too quickly. Skilled drivers bring spare batteries, clothing, and food for such emergencies. Why venture out in such cold, one might ask? For residents, minus 60 degrees is usually a reason to remain at home. In Yakutia's capital, like in any major city, there are shopping centers, cafes, and cinemas. Artists even conduct outdoor painting sessions to test their endurance. During abnormal frosts, They paint winter landscapes and challenge their resilience. Locals also sell goods at open-air markets. While fish sits on the counter at -50, the vendor warms the signs the cash register and hands inside a small refrigerator. And what else? Thanks to incandescent lamps installed inside the display case, it is warmer in there than outside. Overall, life in this republic is in full motion. People hunt fish, build snow slides, chop firewood, and hold ice sculpture exhibitions. They even built an entire city made of ice. Speaking of construction, how does severe frost influence this area of life? Houses are built on tall mounds frozen into the permafrost. There is no basement level. The distance from the ground to the first technical floor is usually about 2 meters, so the buildings do not melt the permafrost with their heat. And as locals point out, this design is very convenient for shortcuts. Just walk under the house instead of going around it. But if buildings are elevated, what about utilities? All necessary pipelines run above ground instead of being buried, once again because of the permafrost. As for the rest, like many rural areas in Russia, Yakutia still has outdoor toilets despite the cold. Some are insulated, some are electric. But what about nomadic reindeer herders? As expected, they do not have permanent restrooms. They dig pits in the snow at a distance from the tent. To shield themselves from wind and freezing temperatures, they use special bell-shaped garments. And in terms of safety, the main rule is to look around and shout at the deer so they do not eat the yellow snow as their bodies lack salt. Hopefully no one is eating right now, but let's move on. Yakutia is such a remarkable region that it draws global attention. Many have seen viral videos of boiling water freezing instantly in the air and turning into snow. In 2020, Galina Davidova's photo project featuring frozen traditional outfits caused a sensation. Tourists travel here to witness the northern lights and try the TikTok trend. Is it really possible to use a regular banana as a hammer? Spoiler: yes. In the extreme frosts of Yakutia, even the softest fruit becomes as hard as metal, and no nail can withstand it. Naturally, such extreme cold inevitably influences the traditional cuisine. It should be mentioned immediately that permafrost conditions are not suited for vegetarians or fans of healthy eating. In Yakutia, the supply of fruits and vegetables is limited, so the diet is based mainly on fatty, high-calorie meat and fish. Everything that could be taken from the Lena River and everything that could be raised is used, whether horse meat, beef, or venison. In addition to meat, what many consider organs are also eaten. And the tongue, of course, no Yakut table would be complete without this delicacy. But what if someone is not a hunter-fisherman or reindeer herder? Markets always have plenty of these products as the meat is frozen and then sold whole or sliced into thin sheets like pancakes. This service is extremely popular in Yakut markets. There are even butchers willing to come directly to your home. And if the question arises about how many freezers are needed to store all that meat even when sliced, no need to worry. In winter, meat is usually kept on balconies and porches. Why? Because mid-January thaws simply do not happen here. If learning more about Yakutia is of interest, other videos on the channel can provide additional details. Now, returning to national dishes, the most famous Yakut food is stroganina. It is typically made this way: freshly caught fish is frozen, and that is essentially the entire process. For serving, the fish is sliced into thin ribbons which must be dipped into a mixture of salt and pepper. This dish must be eaten before the slices melt. Stroganina is also prepared from horse meat, but that variation is less widespread. In general, do not be surprised if frozen food is brought to the table in a Yakut restaurant. That is exactly how it is meant to be. Even herring in Yakutia is eaten frozen as a snack with bread. Is there truly nothing hearty in Yakut cuisine? Certainly there is. For instance, boiled horse meat is considered very nourishing. And soft blood sausage is made from both beef and horse blood. A real delicacy is the crispy carp stuffed with rice and caviar. When winter lasts 9 months, mastering food storage becomes essential, and as can be imagined, freezing is not the only technique. Yakut people also preserve food by salting. A dish made from salted fish heads is called vilavit. Salted reindeer meat is known as vilkitin, and salted walrus or seal flippers are called vilyagit. All of this can be paired with Yakut kumis, a drink made of mare's milk protected from spoilage through fermentation. Yes, it contains alcohol, if the implication is understood. And dessert is a must. Interested in trying something that looks like meringue but tastes like ice cream? Welcome to Yakutia Kerchek, which as its name is made from fresh cow's milk. Nothing complicated. But all this talk of food raises another point: it still needs to be obtained. So now let's speak about ice fishing. The lakes of Yakutia contain so many fish that local authorities even promote net fishing to prevent overpopulation. An interesting fact: fish intended for stroganina must be alive at the moment of capture. When caught in nets, they often fall asleep and are no longer suitable for the dish. Moreover, serving stroganina made from fish that fell asleep in the net is viewed as offensive. So what is the first thing fishermen do? One might assume they immediately cut holes in the ice and set up nets. But that is not what happens. The first step is to build a stove and melt snow on it. Tea is perfect for warming the body. Only after that do they begin setting the nets, a demanding job that cannot be done alone. Around a dozen holes must be cut through the ice. A net has to be stretched beneath the surface, its position adjusted with long poles, and the holes must be covered with feathers to prevent them from freezing. And only after all of this could the fishermen rest and warm themselves with tea. Sometimes tents are also set up, but assembling one in such temperatures is quite difficult as frost forms even on the inside. Only experience makes it possible, and if someone chooses to spend the night in a tent in this kind of cold, a special sleeping bag becomes essential. Having a stove is helpful, but some extreme enthusiasts skip it. They later joke that the hardest part is getting out of the sleeping bag into the freezing tent and then starting to pack it up. So the question arises, what should a person wear to stay active in -60 instead of lying under a blanket? Here is the explanation. With advances in science and technology, many tourists rely on thermal underwear and down jackets. But what do the Yakuts themselves wear? Locals prefer fur. And overall, they follow one rule: the closer the layer is to the body, the more natural the material should be. This does not mean wearing a synthetic down jacket over 2 layers of thermal underwear, wool socks, and a sweater. Synthetic fabrics will likely freeze in such extreme cold. That is why residents wear fur coats and sheepskin coats, and if they choose down jackets, they use natural down along with reindeer or horse-skin boots with felt soles. Several pairs of wool gloves are worn one over another. Clothing was even made from horsehair, mainly soles for footwear and vests. And once again, modern technology is indispensable. Heated insoles, for instance, are very useful. In such conditions, when dressed like a cabbage, the nose and face often suffer frostbite. Yes, in temperatures like this, even the retina can ache, and tears instantly freeze on the cheeks, leaving marks on the skin. Without proper face protection, even a light stream of moist air can cause frostbite. Even scarves meant to shield the face may betray their wearer by freezing solid, after which they must be literally peeled off the skin. In the past, badger goose or bear fat was used for such extreme cold, but special protective creams are now more common. What would someone refuse to visit a place with such harsh weather, yet Yakutia is a tourist destination? And that is no surprise. Imagine lakes that remain unfrozen in the midst of this cold. This occurs because the permafrost expands from freezing and pushes out underground lakes which rise to the surface as unfrozen hot springs that fascinate visitors. And the city of Oymyakon is named after this phenomenon. People often travel there to bathe in these hot springs and treat themselves. At last, let's address a truly important matter. Yes, even in such frigid regions, children still eat ice cream outdoors. At -60, they rarely dare, but at -30 in September, they enjoy ice cream quite happily. And locals even say this helps warm the body. And speaking of children, what about schools? In the United States, schools might cancel classes if the roads are icy, the snow is heavy enough to hide road markings, or the temperature drops to -3 or -5. In Yakutia, winter mornings begin with listening to the radio to hear whether children are excused from school. Previously, this happened at temperatures below -50, but now the rules have changed and younger students stay home at -45 or lower. Adults, however, still go to work regardless, and if someone owns a car, the situation is different, but not everyone does. Those without cars rely on public transport, and to prevent them from freezing, Yakutsk has heated bus stops, insulated booths with windows seating electronic displays and phone charging facilities. And for those who stayed until the end, here is an interesting fact. In 2012, the remains of a mammoth were discovered in Yakutia, unique on a global scale. It may be tempting to say that mammoth skeletons are found in many natural history museums, especially large ones. But the uniqueness of this Yakut find lies in the preservation of soft tissues and intact DNA sequences. This gives scientists the possibility to dream of recreating a real mammoth. Work on this continues to this day, and perhaps someday a real mammoth, though created in a laboratory, may appear in a zoo. If you enjoy icy stories like Yakutia, leave a comment to choose the next place we explore.